Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Ask Clev and Dev, where we answer people's questions from Discord.
Yay. So you did the intro, I'm not going to bother.
Schmatko asks, have you imagined how UCH would look and be playable in VR? So actually we have talked about it quite a bit because, as you know, VR is kind of a hot thing, or was kind of a hot thing. In any case, it was hot enough at some point that we were wondering, should we try something? And we've tried to imagine it, and probably what it would look like is maybe a tabletop kind of game where you put the blocks on the table and then you play in the same platforming way.
I've always imagined it would be like you're in this VR room and there's like a VR screen and you're just playing the normal game, but on a pretend screen.
Rio the Mole asks, the discount of games, is that the dev's decision to say, hey guys, let's make a 60% discount right here? Or is it Steam's decision?
Steam doesn't decide anybody's discounts but Valve's own games. They decide when the events are, they'll tell us in advance, we won't tell you in advance, but then we pick all of the discounts. We're not going to 60%.
What I can tell you is that we'll never tell you in advance what the sale's going to be, because that's a secret.
Schmatko asks, cats or dogs, why? I'm going to say, my cat, but other people's dogs. Because then you don't have the responsibility and you could just play with a dog.
Well, it's a hard decision for me, and I'll tell you why. Because my entire life, I've always had at least 4 cats and 1 dog in my house since I was born. So I don't have a preference. Cats and dogs is my answer.
Coco does ask, what is your opinion on biting ice cream? Follow-up question, if you're against it, what about ice cream sandwiches?
I bite ice cream sometimes, and so I think ice cream sandwiches are just okay.
I don't generally bite ice cream because it's not hard. It doesn't, the teeth don't need to be involved. The ice cream sandwich is the exception because of the cookie layers. You got to get through the cookie, but if it was just a block of ice cream, which I don't recommend, that's weird, then no, you probably wouldn't bite that either. But that's not a philosophical thing. That's all practical.
Yeah, my opinion of ice cream sandwiches is really that it's a tool to make it more enjoyable, more practical to bite ice cream. And I think you should do it.
Schmatko asks, are you writing any kind of tests for UCH? For example, unit tests?
The answer is no. We don't do any kind of unit tests, but we do testing, but generally we don't do test-driven development.
We have QA, but we don't have unit tests, and I think it shows.
So Skew asks, what is the font used in the game? Did you draw it? Or is it like Calibri or something? So actually we have different fonts that we use. I'm going to give you the names. The main font that we use is called KG Next to Me by Kimberly Giswine. And then we have the computer screen font, which is called Commodore Pixelized by Devin Cook. And we also use Press Start 2P by Codeman38 for Unicode support. You can find all of those on thefont.com. Only one of them requires a license, which we paid for.
Ben answered pretty comprehensively what the fonts are, but I will add that there are a couple of situations where we had to tweak or modify the font just because the kerning or the spacing in the font wasn't exactly what we needed, or it looked really weird, but it's mostly bought.
Satoiji asks, do you have any kind of data minery to know which normal levels and playable characters are mostly used? Well, yeah, actually we do have these metrics somewhere.
We do, but it's a little bit outdated. So every time you pick something in a game, or you put a block down, or you start a level, choose a character, the game will say, send back to our thing, here's what everyone did. It's all anonymized and everything, and it's not super representative because it's very skewed by the order people play things in.
Because we have this whole unlocking scheme going on, the most played characters and levels are the first ones that you get. And so there's no big mystery there.
Schmatko for Ben do you think that Egypt pyramids were built by human or somebody else? I will say that even though it's for Ben, the movie Stargate is a documentary. Just watch it and all your questions are answered.
Schmatko, I'm really glad that you asked this question because I actually do have a lot to say about that. First, breaking down the question, humans or somebody else, that's what they call a loaded question, right? Because you're assuming here that there might be somebody else that exists. What is my opinion of this, you think? Well, I have a theory that I have to explain to you that is scientifically inferred. You've heard of the show Ancient Aliens, right? Ancient Aliens, most of the time, is not taken seriously, but yet, you look at the program and what you see, it's been running for 13 seasons. Interesting thing about Ancient Aliens that you might not know, it was not always meant to be a series. It was originally like an hour special for the History Channel, meaning they never intended to make more after that. They didn't know it would be so popular and that it would take off. So what do you think they did? What kind of material do you think they put in that first episode? Logically, they went with what you would put into a documentary if your only intention was to just put out a single episode of something. So they put all their best stuff there, which means necessarily like it has to be probably out of all of the Ancient Aliens, all the subjects featured on Ancient Aliens, the most plausible, the most, the closest to the truth have to be towards the beginning of the series. When do you think they talk about the pyramids? That's right, in the very first season of Ancient Aliens. So just looking at the sequence of events, I can safely say that there's overwhelming and very compelling evidence that the pyramids were probably not built by humans. That's the Ancient Aliens theory of dating, like carbon dating and other things. The end.
Get out of here.
Great. Tell me this thing recorded.